Hey everybody, and welcome back to another video. So today I'm going to be talking to you about 10 or so things that we have really implemented into our lives in the last year or two on our journey towards being a little bit more eco-friendly. So all 10 or so things are going to be free, and some will even save you money. So stay tuned. All right, so number one and number two on my list actually kind of go hand in hand. So my number one tip is starting to get in the habit of saying no. So we live in a society that if it's free, that means it's great, and that means it's gonna help us, or it's exciting, right? So one example I'll give you is that recently when I've gone to the dentist, when they give you that little goodie bag with toothbrush and floss and that kind of stuff on your way out, I've decided to just say no to that because we use an electric toothbrush, and I actually, my husband got me some bamboo toothbrushes for Christmas, and so I've just been using these, and so I don't need a plastic toothbrush that I can't recycle and that I can't do anything else with. I really just don't need that kind of stuff, even though it's free and I don't have to pay for it. That's something that I have chosen to say no to. I'll give you another example. So my husband went traveling for work recently, and so he came back and he was so excited because he got some free stuff in the hotel. So he comes back with a little sponge that's wrapped in plastic. So we had to have a conversation, and we still have to catch ourselves, right? We're all a work in progress, but that sponge probably not made in a sustainable way. It's wrapped in plastic, and we have like 12 sponges under the sink that we bought in an eco-friendly manner. So just one of those things that it's like, oh, it's free, so I can, so it'll benefit me. It's just kind of thinking about, do I really need this? Is this something that I'm going to use? And trying to use that thought process. So my number two tip is thinking a little bit more consciously about what you're consuming. So that means just doing your research. So if you are thinking about using a different company or buying a different product, just making sure you do your research. If there is an option that's a little bit more sustainable or a little bit more eco-friendly, then and you can kind of make that decision on whether it's worth the money if it is more costly, but really stopping to think about all of your purchases and everything that you consume. So I really like to use the phrase conscious consumption, just understanding that you're voting with your dollars, right? So every dollar that you put towards a company or a product that is being used in a not eco-friendly way is working against us, right? It's working against the planet. So if you do have the option to buy something that is working towards the planet, or better yet, a second hand, then that is going to be your best option first. So just educating yourself, honestly. The more that you know, the better and more conscious choices that you can make, and the more honestly powerful that feeling is of knowing that it is truly your choice and that you're not just being convinced by someone else that this is what's best for you. All right, number three. So number three is just being prepared. So obviously this takes, again, a little bit more conscious thought and a little bit more preparation. A couple examples that I'll give is when you're going to the grocery store, most people at this point do have reusable bags. So don't forget to grab them and take them in the store with you so that you don't have to use plastic bags when you get in there. If you do get in there and you forget, maybe if there's a paper option, that would be best. But obviously not having to use anything at all would be great. So another example is I have a plethora of options here, but when you go to work, if you are the type of person that has a job that you can bring your lunch to work, or you do bring your lunch to work, if you need to, you can just take some silverware from your silverware drawer and bring it with you. But if you have the option to bring some plastic, or you are able to reuse some of these, whenever we've had these for so long, and we just put them in the dishwasher and reuse them. So instead of getting to work, forgetting that you have a utensil, and then having to get some from your work or borrow some or use something disposable, just if you're able to be prepared, that's obviously the better option. And another thing is just to keep a set of these in your car. So again, if you're going and you are picking up something to eat really quick on the road, having a straw or having these options when you're traveling is a really great option as well. All right, so we're moving on to the kitchen for my fourth tip, and that is to compost. I don't know why this never occurred to me before now, but honestly, I didn't even start composting until just before last summer. So I've really only been composting for a little bit over a year, but it saves so much on our actual trash, because honestly, most of the time when we took out our trash, it was because it started smelling because we had old food in there. So we've decided to start composting, and it has been great. We have a small little compost bin here, and if you don't already have one of these, you can definitely just use, like my parents used to use like an old Folgers coffee bin or like a ice cream pail, or anything that has an enclosure on it would work perfectly. So we use this for our countertop compost, and then when this gets filled, we have an area in our yard that we have a larger compost container and we throw it in there. So you don't need either of these things. You don't need any money to start your composting, but if you have like a little tin that you can put your compost in, you really just need a corner of your yard that you are able to throw your compost in. Now, in order to reduce the amount of like pests and everything that you have getting into it, you may want to get an actual compost or an outdoor compost. Or what my parents used to do as well is just put like a wire fence around it with a couple of stakes, and that was good to go. So one thing I wanted to mention is that 20% of our landfill is food. So the more you're able to compost, not only does it help from getting those things out of our landfill, but like I said, we throw our trash out probably once a month. Like, we try to recycle as much as possible, and then composting is really due to that fact. So it really cuts back on the trash that we have to throw out. And I just hated throwing out half a bag, because obviously it's a plastic bag. We're gonna hopefully move over to compostable or biodegradable bags once we're through with this roll of plastic bags. So just reducing the waste in any way possible. All right, so for tip number 5, you either buy in bulk or buy in larger quantities to reduce the amount of plastic that you're using. So in this situation, my mom is part of a co-op, so I actually am kind of cheating, I guess, and I'm able to order bulk items through her. This is one of the bulk items that I get, which is some organic basmati rice. Whenever I have other bulk items, I just store them in any glass container that I have. This is quinoa, and as you can see in here, I bought a bag of lentils, and I have them bulk here. We have bulk cashews. A lot of my nuts are bulk. So just something that you can do to, again, reduce the amount of plastic that you're using is if you can buy something that is not wrapped in plastic. This also goes for a lot of vegetables, right? So honestly, I used to love getting all my vegetables at Aldi's, but the more I realized that everything is wrapped in plastic, the more I started doing a little bit of a price comparison and realizing that I'd rather pay a little bit more, if it is a little bit more, to buy something that's unwrapped. So everything in Aldi is wrapped in plastic. Most of the time it is, unfortunately. So if I know I have the option, or if I know I need carrots and I don't want to get them in a bag, then I usually wait to go to one of the larger stores that has them in bulk, so I can buy them just by themselves without having any extra packaging or wrapping around them. So what kind of goes hand in hand with this as well is making things from scratch. So although obviously this takes a little bit more time, it actually could save a lot of money if you're making things from scratch. So recently I made like a triple batch of pizza dough. So I made one pizza with that, a really large pizza, and then I put the other half in the freezer so that we could just get it out and it'd be a lot easier for the next time we wanted to use it. So if you're not only making things from scratch, but making multiple quantities from scratch, if you have the freezer space in order to store everything, then that's a really great option as well. And also, obviously, making things from scratch is usually a lot cheaper. All right, so tip number 6 is to fix things or wear them out. So a lot of times we really want to stay on trend, and obviously fully understandable. Society's kind of tricked us into thinking that we won't be in fashion or we won't be hip if we don't have the newest clothes. But I specifically wore this 10-plus-year-old sweatshirt to prove my point. So I definitely think it's obviously much more eco-friendly, but a lot cheaper to think about the items that you're consuming again, right? Kind of going back to that. So thinking about, even when you're at the thrift store, honestly, just thinking, okay, do I really need this, or is this just a really good deal? Which I get stuck on all the time. Sometimes I literally have blinders on, and if I'm at the grocery store or wherever and I'm like, ooh, clearance, and I just have to have it and I don't even think, and I get home and I get so mad at myself because I'm like, I didn't really need this, or I didn't even check to think if this was eco-friendly or sustainable whatsoever, or if it would even work or anything like that. So just thinking again a little bit more about fixing things. Thank God for my mom, because I have not learned how to sew any more than pretty much putting a button back on something. But so she gets honestly a lot of mine and my husband's clothes to either rehem, or there's a hole, or I have a sock that I really want her to darn. So hopefully she can do that. Thanks, Mom. So just to keep in mind that not everything is disposable, right? So make sure you're buying quality products when you are, but also just research different ways that you can fix what you have versus getting rid of what you have and buying something new. Okay, so my number 7 tip is Ecosia. So with Ecosia, it's actually just a web browser extension. So all you have to do is go to ecosia.com or web search Ecosia. And with every search that you perform within Ecosia as your new web browser, it goes towards, it usually takes about 45 searches in order to plant a tree. So they plant trees in areas that really need it, in populations and communities that really need it. So a literal thoughtless way to contribute to more greenery on the earth, as well as reducing your footprint. Ecosia really puts that money towards a really great cause. So Arcadia is a company that essentially provides clean energy to you through a third party. So when I pull up their website, it says we make clean energy an easy choice. You connect your utility account to clean energy and spend less on your power bill. So they check the availability based on your zip code and see which clean energy saving features are available to you. So whether it be wind energy, community solar, home efficiency, they connect your utility to Arcadia, and then essentially they do the work afterwards. So you can track how much you saved and everything like that. So you essentially pay your power bill through Arcadia. It's kind of confusing, so I'll definitely leave our referral code, which I believe gives you a percentage or a dollar amount off of your first bill, but also obviously explains all of that in detail as well. Also piggybacking off of that, while we're talking about electric bills, I won't name off everything, but if you go to your energy provider, they likely have a list of, here are 10 things that you can do to reduce your energy bill. And obviously, if you're reducing your energy bill, not only are you saving money and helping the planet that way too. So whether it's closing vents in rooms that you don't use, or washing your dishes, using your dishwasher at a certain peak time, or what have you, I would encourage you to look up your local energy company and see different ways that you can reduce your energy usage. And for the tip you all knew was coming, recycle or reuse or reduce, or all of them actually. So we recycle probably just as much as we throw in the trash. Like I talked earlier about the compost, that's really reduced the amount of trash that we have. We take the trash out like once a month. We take recycling out every other week. So we actually recycle a lot more than what we put in the trash. But that's because, once again, going back to the conscious consumption, I make sure if I am buying products that I need or that are in plastic, that I tried my best to make sure that they are recyclable. So when it comes to reusing, this is one that I've tried to consciously get a lot better at. So in this case, this one I think was like an old jar of salsa that we bought at the store, but now I use it for my homemade Parmesan. So just a really great use of another thing instead of throwing it into the recycling. Glass is one of the better like items that you should recycle and that can be reused the most amount of times. But if I can reuse it instead of recycling it, then that helps me out and helps the planet out as well. For those of you that don't know, and some areas are a lot different, plastic can usually only be recycled at most 7 to 9 times. So that's why I really try to reduce the amount of plastic that I use. Tin or aluminum, same as glass, can usually be recycled a lot more than that. But when it comes to plastic usage, that's why I've been kind of harping on that so much, is because even though it says it's recyclable, which is great, the number on the recycling is the highest likeliness that it's going to be recycled. So if you live in a rural area, likely they're only recycling the high numbers because they don't have the facility that will recycle a number 6 or a number 5. But just keep in mind, even if it is a number 1 or a number 2, obviously that's your best option, but it's still only going to be recycled 7 to 9 times before it's disposed of. So if you have the option to buy something in glass versus plastic or what have you, that is going to be your best option. And the last tip, of course, is if you can and you have the resources to do so, go vegan. Obviously, I'm a huge proponent of this tip, but even if you're not willing to, or if you don't want to do this, having like a meatless Monday or a meatless day of the week, or just in general, consuming less animal products is really great for the environment. I'll put a list of statistics up here as well, but this has been proven by scientists as one of the best ways that you can help the environment. It helps me feel like a good person without barely doing anything. I've been vegan for over 2 years now, and I've really loved it every step of the way. I've been on the journey to going vegan for over 3 years now. I feel great, and I feel great about the impact that I'm having on the planet, or I guess I should say the lack of impact I'm having on the planet. It doesn't necessarily always have to be an all or nothing. Every little step or every little bit towards a more plant-based diet is gonna help the planet and help your health and your overall well-being. All right, so that's all my free tips. I have plenty more, so if you have any other questions, please leave a comment down below. But these are just the top tips that if you are just getting started on your journey, or if you just want more tips on how to be a little bit more eco-friendly, I hope you found at least a handful of these that you can implement into your own life. And I hope this was really helpful to you. Please share any extra tips down below in the comment section. I'd really love to learn from you, as I'm trying to help you learn as well. So in the future, I'll probably be uploading a video in the next month or 2 about cheap ways that you can reduce your impact. That may cost a little bit of money up front, but in the long run probably save you money and definitely reduce your impact on the environment. So I hope you stay tuned for that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will see you in the next video.